Last time I told you about the book, about the Saturday morning in 1984 when I walked into a secondhand bookstore and found Napoleon Hill for 50 cents, about reading it in one sitting, about the three ideas that hit me hardest: the burning desire, the mastermind, and the power of a definite decision. I told you that night I made a decision, not a wish, not a hope, a decision. Today I'm going to tell you what happened when I tried to act on it. I was 17 years old. I had no money, no connections, no experience, no mentor, nothing. And I started a business. It was the most important thing I ever did, and the most humbling. Before I tell you what the business was, I need to tell you something about the gap between reading and doing. There is a phenomenon I have observed in thousands of people over the course of my life. I call it the informed paralysis. These are people who know exactly what they should do. They have read the books, they have watched the videos, they can explain compound interest, passive income, asset allocation, and the difference between a liability and an investment, and they do nothing. Not because they are lazy, not because they are stupid, but because knowledge without action creates a very specific kind of trap. The more you know about how something should be done, the more aware you become of how far your current reality is from that ideal. And that gap between where you are and where you think you should be becomes paralyzing. I almost fell into that trap at 17. I had just read Think and Grow Rich. I had made my decision. I was ready to build an empire. And then I looked around at my actual life. Small apartment, no capital, no network, no skills beyond what school had given me. The gap between my vision and my reality was enormous. And for 3 months after reading that book, I did nothing. I thought about it constantly. I planned, I imagined, I prepared to prepare, but I did nothing until the day my mother said something that changed everything. She didn't say it to me directly. She was on the phone with a neighbor, and I heard her say, almost to herself, "Some people spend their whole lives getting ready to start." She wasn't talking about me, but she might as well have been. I started the next morning. The business was simple, almost embarrassingly simple. I had noticed something in our neighborhood. The older residents, retired people, people with physical limitations, struggled with errands, grocery runs, post office trips, picking up prescriptions. There's no service for this, no app, no delivery infrastructure, nothing. So I created one. I printed by hand, because we had no printer, 30 small cards. I wrote on each one, reliable errands, reasonable rates. Ask for Victor. I put them through letter boxes on a Saturday morning. By Sunday evening, I had 4 clients. By the end of the first month, I had 11. It was not glamorous. It was not the empire I had imagined reading Napoleon Hill. I was 17 years old, carrying groceries for elderly neighbors. But it was mine. It generated income, and it taught me things that no book had prepared me for. Here's the first thing the business taught me. People pay for reliability, not brilliance. I was not the smartest person in my neighborhood. I was not the most talented. I was not offering anything technically impressive, but I showed up every time, on time, without excuses. And in a world where most people don't show up, that alone was enough to build a reputation. Within 3 months, my clients were recommending me to their friends, not because I was exceptional, because I was consistent. I have carried this lesson through every business I have ever built. The single greatest competitive advantage available to any entrepreneur at any level, in any industry, is simply doing what you say you will do when you say you will do it. It sounds almost insultingly simple, but look around you. Count how many people actually do it. The number is smaller than you think. The second thing the business taught me was about the value of a customer. I had 11 clients. Each one paid me a small amount per week, but I realized relatively quickly that the real value of each client was not the weekly payment. It was the relationship, the trust, the potential for that relationship to expand. One of my clients, an elderly woman named Margaret, mentioned me to her son. Her son owned a small import business. Within 6 months of starting my errand service, I was doing administrative work for that business on weekends. That one relationship, that one client, multiplied my income 4 times. This is something the wealthy understand intuitively, and most people never grasp. Every person you serve well is a door. You cannot see where that door leads when you first open it, but the doors only open if you serve well enough to be remembered. Treat every client, every customer, every person you do business with as if they are connected to everyone you will ever need, because they are. The third thing the business taught me was the hardest lesson. I learned what I was actually selling. I thought I was selling errands. I was wrong. I was selling peace of mind. The elderly woman who paid me to collect her prescription wasn't paying for the 15-minute walk to the pharmacy. She was paying for the certainty that it would be done, the relief of not having to worry about it, the comfort of knowing someone reliable was handling it. When I understood that, everything changed. I stopped describing what I did and started describing what I solved. I stopped saying I run errands and started saying I give you back your time and your peace of mind. The price I could charge immediately increased. This is perhaps the most valuable marketing lesson I've ever learned. And I learned it at 17, carrying groceries. Nobody buys a product or a service. They buy the feeling that product or service gives them. They buy the problem it solves. They buy the version of their life that becomes possible when the problem is gone. Sell the feeling, not the function. Every business I have built since, regardless of the industry, regardless of the scale, has been built on this principle. By the time I was 18, the errand business had taught me everything I needed to know to build something bigger. I had learned that reliability was a competitive advantage, that relationships were assets, that people paid for feelings, not functions. And I had learned one more thing, the most important thing, that starting imperfectly with nothing in the most modest way imaginable was infinitely more valuable than planning. The gap between my 17-year-old self carrying groceries and the person I would eventually become was not crossed by reading more books or making better plans. It was crossed by just starting with what I had, where I was. In the next episode, I will tell you about the mentor I found at 19, a man whose name I will never reveal. A man who had built and lost 3 fortunes before the age of 50. A man who agreed to meet with me for 1 hour and ended up changing the entire direction of my life. What he told me in that first meeting, I have never heard repeated anywhere. Not in any book, not in any interview, not in any course. I am Victor Vale, and I will see you in episode 5.